All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Paper Girls After Show. We'll be discussing episode 4 today.
What's up, Ronan? What you doing? This weird, ominous pause. I was like, he's trying to personify what the show really is.
No.
That's what it is.
I'm your host today, Ronan and Shane, and people might be shocked, but I am pumped to talk about this episode. And as the previous episode video, I have a full-on group chat. I want to talk about all our feelings on this episode, but I want to introduce first someone who opened a lot of my thoughts to seeing how these characters would go in depth and whatnot. Nat, please come on board and welcome to the show.
Hi, I actually like this episode.
There you go. There we go. It is possible. Second round, I want to invite my dear friend who lucky to have me part of his show a day ago in Thor: Love and Thunder review. But Jen and Mike, what's up, man?
Hello, people. How you doing? We're heading on a good direction.
There you go. See, I told you it was possible. And not last but not least, the person who all of this wouldn't be possible with. The maestro, dear friend of mine, Sam. How are you, sir? Oh, come on. I didn't forget this time. See, I didn't forget the introduction. But yeah.
Look, I'll say this. The show is still not where it could be, but this is definitely a step in the right direction.
There it is. There it is.
It took a lot for me to get that out.
Listen, you took the words right out of my mouth, though. Stay positive.
So I'll say that I'll start this off. That this is nowhere near episode 2 level where I was like, yeesh. With a scene or two exception in episode 2 that I dug, but I'm gonna go right off the bat. Nat, I think episode 3 still might be my favorite one out of the lot, but I agree with Sam that I don't think this show is at the level it can be, and yet it's showing the humanity within these characters that I'm appreciating with much. Even with Mac, who sometimes drives me nuts, and yet I see that's the girl inside of her that's not all puff and stuff. So how did you think about this episode thus far?
It was definitely an improvement from episodes 1 through 3. I agree with Sam. It's not where it could be, but I can see it's an improvement. That's very vast improvement. But Mac, of course, again, was the best part about this episode. But I also actually enjoyed I think Liz, and her older counterpart and the interaction with the sister, Missy. Right. The beginning of this episode, it was kind of like, well, dang, why didn't we start with this? Because it's kind of like it would have been more wholesome and it would have connected me better with Liz. I think that is her name.
Erin.
I am right. Okay. That would have connected me better with her than with the scene that we got in the pilot episode. So, and even the witch is like after him. I was like, okay, is she gonna catch up with them? Like, what's happening? And then of course I was concerned about the brother. Fortunately for now, he seems to be okay, but who knows? She may use him as a, bargaining chip, so to speak, to lure them or something. I don't know. And then we got introduced to a new character. I have no idea who he is. He seems to be the boss man, but we'll see who he is in further episodes, hopefully.
Yeah, and I have to admit that I was worried going forward with the dynamic between Erin and Missy, and whether they would touch upon that how they are as kids and as adults, and they do that in a very different way than what I was used to in the books, and yet it was more human, and I could relate to that because that is something that happens on a daily basis. Mike, did you like how old Aaron has been growing. Have you liked what she's been accepting more of the scenario she's in, and yet being more of a mother figure for the girls at this point?
There was a little bit. One thing I like with this episode that for the older Aaron, I forgot the actress's name, but she's a good comedian. This gave more to her personality, more of a personality to a point where now it's like, okay, hopefully you wish you would have saw that from the younger version first to see, okay, this is where she's gonna end up, right? But then yet either that way that type of sarcasm is her way of suppressing her pain, depression, anxiety, whatever it might be, you know, um, uh, that's something that can be relatable, 'cause that's like they have to at least have something for the audience to grab onto. And that little moment of her, faking that, oh, missiles are activated. Like that to me, I smiled because like, hey, that's some sense of personality. But again, I like what she's given in terms of this episode. Also, other than adding the dynamic with the sister, her sister, and even the way it started at the beginning of this episode, really that should have been the opening of this entire season, not on episode 4. Um, and now here we are seeing the older version of themselves and seeing just again another like family dynamic, and you feel sorry for her again, like what she's experiencing, while also the younger Aaron is also experiencing and developing things that also got revealed in this episode too. But yeah,
I do apologize. Sorry for getting Aaron's name wrong. For some reason, Liz was in my brain.
It's all good. But I have to admit, even though we don't think the show's at what it can be, although we like where it's been going thus far since episode 3, I do, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, that I like that even though the story isn't as strong as it is, there are scenarios, there are scenes that these characters are bouncing off, and yet, at least to me, I put myself in that scenario, be like, how would I react to that point? How would I react to if I have issues with my sibling at a young age, and now I'm older, I'm a different person, I've matured, and yet they come crashing into my life as an older person, and how do I deal with that? How do I either address regrets, apologies, or if there's a bridge to form a better relationship? I like that there are moments in this episode that really push that, and both Aaron and older, and I know that she hates me calling her older Aaron, but she is older Aaron and older Missy, how they interacting, and how Mac and her older brother are interacting. Sam, did you think of it that same way, or are you at least just glad? Are you at least just glad that those characters are getting something like that to work off each other?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll say with Mac, just taking her as an example. Like Mac initially, I mean, she had the look, she had the attitude. I was like, okay, I can vibe off her being 80s, like she being that kind of personality. It's just the problem was they all were kind of like exhibiting that same personality, just off-putting. But now taking her away from the girls for a period of time, using exposition and good dialogue and a good actor to partner off with her, she's kind of holding her own as an actress, because that's the one thing. Like, he's actually a really good actor. He's played in a lot of different things, and every single moment that they have a moment of levity or fun, like it's cringy as them, using firecrackers and stuff like that. At the end of the day, I'm situating in my mind like that's his sister, and like he wants to have that moment with her, and she never really got to do that with him because, like he kind of described in this episode, they grew up in harsh times, unfortunately. And like, I think that those conversations were great.
Yes.
Down to one of the best scenes for me was not necessarily when they had that falling out and they hugged it out. That was good. But the meat and potatoes is when they got out, KJ came, picked up Matt, and like for the first time, Mac legit broke down. Like, she didn't break down when they got stuck over there. She didn't break down when she shot Aaron. She didn't break down, when she realized she had died. But when she had to leave her brother and how much he wants for her, like I felt that. And I was like, okay, that's the best scene of the series so far. But yeah, like you said about Misty and with the younger Aaron, that was such a great potent scene, because what it did was I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting the handle of them being kids. When we first see them, like they're on the paper route, there's so much going on. their personalities are not really coming through to connect to me versus them organically being like kids. If we always talk about Stranger Things being the comparison, first thing we see with the kids, they're playing D&D. We're seeing their character motivations. We're seeing them organically move around together to pay off with the older Misty and an older Aaron, and you're seeing the problems that they're having right now because the actors are doing a really good job with not showing so much with exposition, but really diving in with like, okay, this is why Misty is the way she is, and it's not right, and this is how she's using and gaslighting her own sister. But then there's also faults to Aaron because she's allowing it to happen. She's allowing herself to be, walked over. And I those two parts, to me, I think this is the best episode of the season so far. I think 3 was good, but I think this had way better moments to me.
That's fair. I can agree with that. Yeah. And speaking of moments and characters, the two that besides Mac and Aaron, or the Aarons, if you will, was KJ. Now, you could say that was dumb of her to leave the farm and whatnot. And I get that. It was very insecure and problematic. But I like that after her killing someone accidentally, we're spending time and seeing her open up more because she was very closed off with that discussion with Aaron. And I kind of know what's about to come. And yet I was glad that she went out to see something of herself and her side in this time period. And in doing so, that she was ahead of the curve and realized, yo, we don't have a problem just getting back home. We have a Terminator following us around, and they will hurt anybody in our livelihood in this time period if we don't get out. And so I appreciate that even through that way. And I believe the actress's name is Adina Porter, the lady who's like asking about them and whatnot, and chokes that lady out, be like, where is she? I like that okay, we get that she's on a mission, and when that mission goes south, there's a consequences, and that's when we get introduced to the comedian Jason Mantzoukas, I believe that's his name, who I believe, correct if people who by the time people watch this, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's either the all father or he's the head honcho of that division of this big war. And I was, again, it could be jarring that, what's Jason doing here? And yet, as a fan, you're like, wow. So they finally brought him up. How is this all going to play out?
Right.
Did you wish we got more of that side of the antagonist of this show early on? And if by now you know who there's a power dynamic between those two characters, are you really hoping that they spend time with them, and apart from the girls, spend time with them and be like, okay, how does this part of this war play out? And is there a reason to them being the antagonist of the series?
I guess I'll talk on it.
Go for it.
For me, y'all know how I feel about this show.
Yeah.
But I've always said that if the show had started off connecting me with the girls, I think that honestly, if he would have showed up in the 4th episode as antagonist, I wouldn't have had an issue with it, honestly. Because if you've already built up enough goodwill for me to latch onto these girls, have them be believable, have it be elemental, and have it be a natural progression up to that point, I get it. Because, at this point now, we've seen the Terminator lady that's been following him since the 1st episode. It's just, we didn't know why she was doing it. We don't know, what is her prime directive. And we're getting small little hints at stuff here or there. But we've seen she's more than willing to kill people. She's more than willing to take people out.
Yeah.
So for that moment to happen where she's looking for it, it's dark, she failed, she couldn't get to them, and her to turn around and know, like, why is she scared of this man? But she was scared.
Yes.
And that was fascinating. And I think that from a timing standpoint, I think that worked perfectly. The issue to me always was that I never connected with the girls formally ahead of time. And so if I had of, I don't think it would have been an issue him being introduced right now. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I don't know, Nat, what do you? I at least appreciate that this one more than any of the episodes. I felt the danger more. I felt that, wow, they're this close of killing off Mac's older brother, or they're this close of killing off someone in KJ's older life. What did you take from that? And do you hope we get more of that? Because that's when the meat and potatoes, the strength of this show that it does have, really is heightened up, and it's like, all right, I'm engaged and connected with this show.
I'm just concerned that they're gonna be more concerned about moving things forward quickly without really giving us an explanation of what's going on. So in a way, as much as I was disappointed in the first 3 episodes, at least we're taking our time to try and figure out what's going on. I will say that. And I guess now that they can move kind of like in a faster pace, they can move the action forward in a way that, you know, isn't so what's going on.
Right.
But I mean, hopefully the pacing will work. There's going to be enough slow moments as well as enough moments where the action is moving quickly. But that's still a concern. It's a slight concern.
That's valid. That's valid. Mike, we got mechs in this show now. We got full-on Pacific Rim Transformers, Megazord, whatever you want to call them, mechs in this show now. Do you hope to see more of that? There we go. That was the image I was talking about. Do you hope to see more of that? Or are you right now at this point be like, just make sure I care and know what's happening in this war now?
That part.
The latter? Yeah.
No, that part. No, what you said, because like it's almost like visual diarrhea. It has nothing for me to actually feel connected about this. Like, think of Transformers. Like, you can take a 5-minute scene of Transformers and show it to anybody. Like, oh, cool, that looked like a good scene. But then you see the rest of the movie, and it's like, you know,
right.
No love more to be desired. My thing for this is like, for someone who's also like, I'm a graphic designer, and I love like visual effects and other stuff like that. It just, I like the design they had in the show. I mean, I mean, to me, I'm not trying to crap on the show. It does look like almost like if someone did it on YouTube, did like a mech suit and all that stuff. Not saying it wasn't bad. I'm like, okay, look all right, but for me, more it's just me just caring about what happening, let alone oh, look, it's a mech suit. Because like I said, like the art style, what they did in the comics and stuff, I really like. That really kind of draw me into it. But what they tried interpret it in the show, like really don't kind of get the full scope or scale of it. I at least get a little bit a hint of that like the third act of this episode. But hopefully we'll see more of it to get kind of the more grander scheme and how like now they have this mech suit, how they can use it instead of just having it for like one or twice per season because of budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got a weird question. I know this is a little off-putting, but do y'all think, and again, I haven't read the comics, but do y'all think that if they would have tackled this animation-wise, like and just did it as an animated like series, like they did Invincible, do you think this would work better?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Probably. Yeah. Especially with the mech suit. I'm still not understanding what the purpose of the mech suit is. Because they traveled in a smaller like spaceship
shuttle. Yeah.
You get to the present. So I'm just confused as to why they didn't have something similar hidden away for them to travel back. And it's less conspicuous. I mean, who has a mech in 2019? We don't have a mech suit, guys. We don't where
Right. And I think
they're movies, but they're not real, at least not yet.
The reason why I asked is because I was like, the CG doesn't look like something that Amazon Prime is capable of. Like, I feel like Amazon Prime at this point now, they can put out some really good visual aesthetic. Like on a cinematic level, on a television level, they could really push the envelope. And it's kind of like I was like, this is supposed to be really cool for me as a Gundam fan. You know what I'm saying? This is supposed to be really cool for me as a fan of Power Rangers, And I was kind of like, I was like, man, as this show progresses going into a second season, I don't know if this is going to visually look better or if it's going to get worse, because I'm assuming you're not going to bring up a mech if the mech isn't going to fight something. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, the budget that they've shown me so far and how the visual aesthetics are for this, there's some really great camera stuff that they're doing. But as far as the VFX and stuff, it just is not up to snuff. So that's why I was bringing up, like, man, maybe this should have been animated, and it could have been a little bit more less costly, and worked out a little bit better. But.
And that's a good question, because I think, even though I'm not caught up on The Boys, and I think you and Jen and Mike are caught up on The Boys, I believe, but I am caught up on Invincible, and that show broke my heart.
Season 2, we're still waiting. But hey,
I know,
shoot,
I know. But Invincible was a perfect example of taking the dynamics of a comic look and bringing it into animation, and you're seeing how that moved, how the music complemented it, and how the actors lifted up the material. And I think specifically how forgive me for stuttering his name, Cliff Chang, the artist who drew Paper Girls, his art plays to the strength of animation and what animation could do. So I think in a way, yes, I think it would have been stronger to do animation, and yet I would like to see, because even though animation does great stuff, seeing Sophia Rosinski get changed, just emotionally seeing her face go through different various levels, that happened in live action. I appreciate seeing that, because as even non action wise, seeing her go through different levels, I was glad to see her play that out in live action. So I do think, yes, it might have played out better in animation, but I don't know, after the success of The Boys, after, even though they canceled it, after Why the Last Man was adapted, I don't know if animation would have been their first thought. Do you think they? Well, I'll throw this back to you. Do you think they should have looked at Invincible and be like, maybe we can do this with Paper Girls? Because, oh man, that scene is so good. They hint at dinosaurs. They hint at dinosaurs, and from the first few issues I've read, there's dinosaurs. There's pterodactyls. So I thought, I was waiting for that before they introduced the mech. That would be like, all right, we've seen the dinosaur, now we're introducing a mech. But
I mean, to me, and this is, I'm not trying to knock the show with this comment. I really am not. The show to me doesn't seem like it has the capability of showing like heavy VFX stuff like this. And this is weird to say, because there's another show that was on Hulu, and it's called Runaways. Runaways literally had like random dinosaurs, random magic fights, random stuff. So I'm saying that Runaways is not perfect, but it could be done. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it's like, I don't know if it's that Image didn't have the right backing, or if they were given a constrict budget, but from the first 3 to 4 episodes of this, it does not look like it can meet what these comic book visuals I'm seeing. I'm looking at some of these things, I'm putting these pictures up, and I'm like, this looks amazing. And I'm kind of like, I don't see this in what we're watching yet. And I don't see this being something that's going to be possible based on what the budget that they have for it. So for me, I just don't see it. I really don't. And I could be wrong, but I feel like we've only got 4 more episodes left. And I feel like what they could have done the first episode is really wowed me. And that's not what happened. So yeah, that's my thought with it.
That's
Amazon.
valid.
It's not surprising that Amazon would give them a limited budget. I'm just saying.
Well, there it is. Yeah. I would have for sure thought that after Invincible and after even The Boys, that they'd be like, all right, let's go, let's give it all we got. You know, they're making excellent films. These shows are rivaling anything that's on Disney Plus, on Netflix. They're rivaling it. So I would have thought that for sure they would have a big backing for this. But let's before we wrap up, let's talk about the future onwards. You said it, 4 more episodes are left on this season. Who's a character? Because we spent some time with Mac, with Aaron, slightly with KJ, and barely anything with Tiff. Do you want to see KJ and Tiff lift up to that same level, or are you right now be like, yo, Mac and Aaron are leading the way, let's just go with them?
I need development in order for me to want to be invested. there was just still awkwardness with Tiffany. I think they were trying to give her a little more development in this episode, but I'm still not quite there yet with her. And maybe it's who she's interacting with that I'm just not feeling a connection. I just don't know. And I hate that I'm saying this because it's like I want to be invested in Tiffany. Yeah. Because reasons.
I completely get that.
With KJ, it's kind of like she killed somebody, so she has to process that as well as trying to like see where she fits into all of this and dealing with whatever's going on back home with her. And the fact that she doesn't even want to know what her future self is like is an issue, because I would hope that then she would have realized that this is really serious. I mean, she already realized it, fortunately, without really knowing, but that the fact that she doesn't know that this chick done killed her older self, there's no way of knowing what damage this person has done already in retaliation for her killing someone. So all she knows is that they're after that person, that, you know, the witch is after them, but she doesn't realize that she's already hit someone close to home herself.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if she's even going to find that out. And that just seems like a plot hole that could have been explored. I don't know. And that could have given her something more to develop her character. Because it's like Erin has like her future self, so she's knowing all kinds of stuff about her future self.
Yeah.
And even Mac, in a way, knows a lot about her future self. But so far, Tiff and KJ don't know jack. And that's not fair to them. If you're going to develop these characters, you might as well go all out with all four of them. Let's find out what's going on with them in the future. Like, Tiffany has an idea based on what she looked up, but we still haven't seen that interaction. We haven't seen her older self to really see the difference, or if she's changed at all, what have you, what her future kind of like held, other than what we've heard. So if we can get a little bit of that in the next 4 episodes, then hopefully I can be invested in KJ and Tiffany as well as Mac and Erin, because I'm already invested in Erin and Mac because they've been the most developed so far.
Yes. Mike, first of all, I can't wait for all y'all to read the comic book, because it's worth reading. And I'd just be like, after seeing these episodes, I wonder how you're all going to take what you now know of the show and know of the comic to see where you're all stand on it. But Mike, at least I'll say this from what I took of Tiff, of the very small moments we've seen with her. She seems pumped to learn more of her future self, and yet she's just excited about taking in this whole future realm, yet knowing that we don't belong here. This is a weird question, but how would you handle that if you were sent into the future and you had aspirations for who you wanted to be? How would you go about wanting to learn that? Would you go up front to your future self, or would you slowly in the background make your way around and find out where you've gone and where you're planning on going to in the future?
Man, I'll bring my notepad, take my pen. I said, all right, so what you did this? What class not to take? All right. No, make a right turn, not a left. Okay, all right. All right, lay off the Popeyes. Okay, all right, I understand. Like, hey, hey, start, invest in real estate. Okay, got you. Like that, like I'm like, no, I'll be direct with this. Just like you see all the other movies and be like, oh my god, what am I doing? Instead of like, no, give me explanation what's going on here. Like I think it's almost a question of like, hey, if you had a chance to go back to your younger self, what would you tell them? Like, it's not about what I would ask them. What would they tell me? That's really the question I'll refer back to. So just like, if you have the opportunity, would you take it? And whether and not like, you accept the whole myth about, uh you have to accept, the good, bad that happens to you and everything, and resetting things, living life of regret is like this pointless, and like I just finished this anime, Girl Leaps Through Time, and that's like the whole thing. Like, man, if I just keep going back, and things will change. Not knowing there's also ripple effect, just like, okay, something else even worse might happen. So the whole thing, like, time waits for no one, that's still been sticking with me for like the past week and everything. So yeah, for me, I'll kind of be more direct, but not in a way of like something that my older self can tell me, hey, everything's going on right now, everything's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be perfect, but things are gonna be all right. And that's it. You know?
Right on.
I think, yeah.
Right on. Yeah, this episode had good moments of wow, yeesh, how would that play out if I was in that scenario? But that'll do it for this episode's recap and review. I want to again say thank you so much to Nat, to Mike, and to Sam for being a part of this.
Thank you to you for leading the ship. Thank you.
Literally, let's get on that bucket and let's go in the cast.
Let's not belittle this here, okay?
Oh Lord, Mike, where can people find you?
Mm-hmm. You can find me on YouTube at JediMike7, but you also can find me on platforms like TeamJVS and also working with Running Unchained as always. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share. Hit the notification bell on the newest videos on all of our platforms. Till next time, peace.
Beautiful. Nat, where can people find you in this big world of ours?
I'm at Willcat12 on Instagram and Twitter. On TikTok, I'm at Natty Willie. And you can find me over here on TeamJVS, occasionally popping in on discussions and doing social media. So
awesome. Sam. Oh, me. Okay. You can find me at Ronan Unchained on YouTube or on Twitter. I will be optimistically counting on days to be like, all right, this show is hitting a stride, and I knew it, even though it's the bumpy road. But I believe in this comic. I believe with this story and these characters, and please don't let me down. Please don't let me down. Sam, come on, give yourself a shout out. Where can people find you? Come on now. Oh.
Oh god, no, I'm not gonna do that to you guys. Yeah, you can find me here from JVS. Like, I'm always here, never gone. I don't want to watch this show anymore. Yeah, I just
how you really feel.
I blipped out. That look right there, reasons. That is how I feel about this show. I'm kind of like, in my head, I'm like, did that just happen? Oh, you guys are okay with it. Okay, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But no, here at TeamJVS, we're doing a lot of discussions here. We're doing the old man. We just finished up the man who left, who fell Earth. We've got Blackbird, and we've got a couple other reviews that are gonna be coming up very soon. So
yeah,
Ronan, you are the man. You're the champion of this show. We cannot wait to see your interview with the cast. Spoiler alert, you guys. So that is coming down the pipeline very soon. We also will be going and possibly doing something at San Diego with Paper Girls. So as much as I talk on this show about it, we're still going to give credit where credit's due, and hopefully they continue to push the envelope moving forward.
I agree. I concur with that notion. Thank you all for checking out the show. Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.
bye.